Hi YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and this is Outsiders, and welcome back to my channel. And tonight we're going to do my third video in the player series, and this is all about, the idea behind this video is fairly simple. I wanted to try and think of 10 questions that I could ask a player with my support as a DM to elaborate on those questions to help define his character. And I think that this is actually probably quite a key video in the series because it really helps, no matter what style of play you're doing as a DM or as a player, it really helps you define the character. So without further ado, let's get into the first question. I'll try and elaborate a little bit on those questions just to see, so you can see how my mind was working. First question is, where are you from? So basically, that's all about your ethnic origin. How will that be clear through role play? Will that be through accent, mannerisms, the way you look? Will the character himself come with a hat on? Whatever it is that gets your player into a character, that can be huge. So where's he from? How does that affect the way he is? What is your family like? So how has your family background shaped your personality and your prejudices? I think that's pretty important because perhaps there are, like classic Renaissance Italy, you know, perhaps there are these sort of generations of families that hate each other and forgotten why they hate each other. There's so many different ways you can look at that, and I think that's quite an interesting question. The third one is, what is your social class? Do you look down on the lower class? Do you resent the upper class? Do you strive to be upward class mobility? Do you ignore class divisions altogether? Class does class does show itself in so many different role-play systems that I think it's really, really important to elaborate on it. And another part to these 10 questions is, of course, I've got to also maintain the fact that I've got to think of it in terms of players of all styles of games. So what did you do before you became an adventurer? How will your profession manifest itself through the role play you do? Again, would it be through mannerisms? Would it be through dress? Could it be through hygiene? Or lack thereof? Are you still working in your last career? If so, how do you intend to combine it with your adventuring? And I think that's quite critical because a lot of the time we just focus on so-and-so's playing this particular class. You forget about the past, which is really sad. We should really try and encourage our players to incorporate their past into the game that you've got in front of you. Question 5 would be, why did you become an adventurer? You know, really it's, I suppose it's the GM's job, if you like, to sort of dangle a motivation in front of you, really. That's the hook, isn't it, the carrot? But you should have an idea of why you become an adventurer and what it is you're striving towards. As a character, question 6, how religious are you? How will your religious values influence your behaviour? How often do you pray? Do you favour one god over another? Do you go to temples? Do you attend services? That sort of thing. Again, we really rarely talk about it as a DM, but it's so critical to get that information out of players. Question 7 would be, who are your best friends and worst enemies? How would you react if confronted by the worst enemy you have? Would you flee? Would you fly into a murderous rage? How much would you sacrifice for your best friend? Your life? Nothing? Do these people mean nothing to you? I think these are great questions that you can ask as a DM, or, you know, ask yourself as a player, because it really helps your DM out when you're doing these sort of things, because it gives him some information about you that he can use in the campaign. Question 8. What are your prized possessions? Anything listed here will likely be destroyed or taken away by the GM for narrative effect, is often the words that I use. Never take it personally. How would you react to the loss or destruction of these items? How far would you go to retrieve them or avenge you who destroyed them? It's funny how items can be sometimes prized over more things than the player's background, and that's why I've included it in here, because prized possessions can mean something. Perhaps, say, a family heirloom or a sword handed down from father to son. It should have meaning. A staff that's been given by the Wizards Guild to you, to signify you've become a wizard. The loss of that would be unbelievable, a holy symbol that's gone missing. These things should mean something to players, so it is a question worth asking. 9. Who are you loyal to? Now, it's not obvious at the beginning of a campaign it's going to be the players around you, but who are you loyal to? Are you technically a leader? Are you a follower? How will this be conveyed through your roleplay? What types of followers do you have? Would they be blind, sceptical, opportunistic? What type of leaders manifest itself through your roleplay? Would it be that you want to try and come across as charismatic, reluctant, heroic? it's important to look at those factors around the character and as you want him to grow. And question 10. Who do you love? Who do you hate? What will you do if you meet this person? So perhaps this is the opportunity beyond the earlier question, really, to, this should be about a question around somebody that you may have heard of or somebody that you've only seen once, rather than somebody who's got day-to-day impact on you. The idea behind the 10 questions really here is obviously to help generate as much deep background as possible. Now, a good player pretty much will think about, without maybe even knowing it, think about those 10 questions when they're designing a character, and they'll build a character off that profile. But it's a great tool to use. Those 10 questions are a great tool to use as a way to hook players in when you first sit down and you roll up the characters. I want my players to be thinking about this. And as my campaigns go forward more as a DM here rather than a player, I want my players to really immerse themselves in the game world. And I think these 10 questions probably do that. Anyway, I hope that you found that of benefit. I hope that it's something that you may be able to use as a player or as maybe a DM looking at this video. And if you have other questions that you might throw into the mix that don't quite fit the 10 I've given, please feel free to add them in. All are relevant to anybody looking at this video. And of course, if you want to do a video response perhaps for your top 10 questions that a DM might ask, so this again gives a steer for other players, feel free to do so. Anyway, I've been Sean Connors, this has been Outsiders. Have a great weekend, happy gaming to you. I'm looking forward to mine. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Until next time, bye bye.